Hello and welcome to the $3 podcast. $1, $2, $3, all the Buckleys, Eric, Aidan, and Jameson. And consider me your, not so much a host, but a guide to the conversation about marketing, AI, and all things with family business. My name is Travis. Welcome to the show. We're going to get started right now. And the episode title for this podcast is Building While the Support Queue Grows. Aidan, sitting to my right, your left, is fully responsible for building outwrite.ai and supporting every customer who uses it, and I'm one of them. As the product grows, the support queue grows with it, and that puts a lot of pressure on him as he jumps from one support request to another. This episode focuses on what it's actually like, what new users struggle with the most, where expectations don't align, and what building a product teaches you once real customers start using it and relying on it. Aidan, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We're going to start with, owning the product and the support queue. And you are responsible for it.
Yep.
You're responsible for both building the product and handling support requests. Very different. How did that reality change now that usage is picking up for this tool?
Well, as the days go on and we get more and more users, there's definitely more and more, issues that I would have never found myself that can come up with, simply people just using it. It's actually a great way to find, UI issues or, speed bumps, I guess, or friction, but it definitely does kind of put a pit in my stomach whenever, like a legitimate support ticket comes through, but there's not that many of them. The platform works pretty well for the most part.
What surprised you then as you went down this road with outwrite.ai and more customers started using it on a daily basis?
I think what surprises me most is no matter, I look at it all day, every day, so I'm super familiar with it, and then sometimes, I think that kind of gets lost on me where I'm not in someone's shoes trying it for the first time, and there's things that, could always be easier, and things that I don't think are hard but might be hard for someone just, stepping foot into the platform for the first time.
Was there a moment where support features directly changed what you built next?
Yeah, for sure.
Can you share an example of that then?
Yeah. So I would say, for instance, even today we had someone cancel their trial because there wasn't the option to choose a template for their WordPress, like the content that they're publishing to WordPress. And that was the first time anyone's ever suggested that feature. So it's something that I can easily implement into the platform and then, talk to them and try and win the business back. But either way, it was a great suggestion. And that's kind of just how the best feedback comes, is from actual people using the platform.
So we're going to start talking with, because, a lot of new customers are using this. We're going to talk about that next. When a new customer reaches out for help, what's the typical problem that they're stuck with, the roadblock for them adopting the tool?
Right now, just the most common one is getting their WordPress integrated into the site and set up so they can publish their content to their website. Again, this was something that I thought was super simple, but, for someone first going onto the platform and doing something like this for the first time, it is probably kind of difficult. But both times it was more on the user's error side, but since then I have made changes to, make the onboarding of integrating a WordPress site as easy as I think I can at this point, but we'll see, as we keep going. But right now, that's, I think, the biggest hiccup, and that's where the most tickets are coming from.
So a lot of times it's either the product error, user error, or just user adoption. It sounds like it can be a combination of all three sometimes.
Right. Yep. Right. Sometimes it can be, but usually not. Usually it's either there's something like messing up and not working correctly in the platform, or the user might have done something a little bit incorrectly and they just need a bit of guidance.
We all need a helping hand. Are these problems complex for you, or is it generally just basic stuff that people gloss over and don't really understand?
So far, it's just, the latter, I guess. I think that as we go and get more and more users, I think that, those will compound and there will be more of the same type of thing. But I don't think there's been anything like too complex that I haven't been able to solve or fix for the user yet.
So in full disclosure, I'm getting mine set up next week. And, I'm going to ask you right now, what do you think I'm going to trip over using your setup process, Aidan?
Well,
you've known me for a long time.
I don't know. You're pretty good with the tech and with software and stuff, so I don't think you'll have a problem at all.
But
honestly,
if I had to know me at all,
if I had to pick, right now I'd say probably integrating WordPress, because that's where everyone's kind of tripping up.
Okay, well, I read the instructions and it seems pretty legit. I can follow a hierarchical and chronological, flow chart. So we're going to see. I'll let you know.
All right, sounds good.
So then, can you share a support question that shows how users think about AI and AI visibility differently than you expected? Like they were thinking they're going to get one thing and they got another.
Right. I'd say there are people that expect tracking AI visibility to be something like their Google Analytics metrics, where they're like they can see traffic, and so people might think that it's more of that type of experience with our tracking, and they can view their AI traffic on like a global scale, but it's more based on the prompts that they enter and the prompts that they're tracking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Data is all about patterns. So we're going to talk about patterns, and after you've dealt with dozens, maybe even hundreds of support threads, support tickets. After answering the same question over and over to this point, patterns start to appear. What patterns with this tool are you seeing now, Aidan?
I'd say the patterns are that everyone basically wants the same thing. Everyone is pretty much scattering to figure out, GEO and how to show up an AI search with, this new space that's basically brand new and it's changing all the time and really quickly. But there's no negative trends. It's more everybody's kind of trying to do the same thing. I'd say everyone has like a similar goal. I'd say that's probably, like a similarity between the users. No one really fully understands AEO and GEO, but everyone is, getting on board.
How then does that feedback, influence, prioritize onboarding or the workflows inside the product?
It influences it very much. If there's any language in their support tickets that's, indicating there's any friction in, onboarding or UI or customer experience, then, that's something that shapes how the platform feels and looks and behaves, because people using it are experiencing, this, and I want to make sure that it's the best platform it can possibly be.
Did you change a workflow or label or feature after seeing a repeated confusion pattern?
I mean, the platform is a completely different platform than when it first came out. I'd say we changed based off of there would be future confusion. If the platform still looked like it first did when it first came out, there was like 10 other features that I've removed since then that, definitely would have caused confusion and messed things up. But we really stripped it down to make it focus on, one core thing that it does now, and make that do it really well. So not yet, but there would have been if I hadn't, stripped it down.
Our next session talks about the cost of simplicity, and I found this very interesting for this conversation. Many people assume simple products are simple to build. What's the hardest part of keeping things simple as your feature set grows?
Well, making sure that if there's a new feature that it works well with how the platform is currently and it doesn't break any existing features, and to make sure that it will, add the correct value and people will actually use the feature and not just, gloss over it or skip it, or the feature just gets made and goes unused. So, yeah.
How then do you decide when to add guidance versus when to let users figure it out for themselves?
I'd say I've added a lot of guidance based off of some of the feedback I've gotten, and we've made a whole documentation section, multiple helpers and forms that show how to use a certain feature within the app too. But as we go and people still keep tripping up in certain places, I'll keep refining that and making it more clear and simple based off of what people are experiencing.
Have you ever added something and then later removed it because it wasn't as popular or as, you utilized as much as you thought?
Yep, definitely. Like I said, when it first came out, there was a few features. For instance, one was like this thing called the strategy wizard that just didn't really make a lot of sense at all. And then there was another one for optimizing content that you've already created, which just didn't make sense at all. And we just stripped it down to really create the content and then track your AI visibility. And, keeping it to do, like I said, one thing and doing that one thing really well.
We're talking now moving into support as product research. And if you have a product, whether it's something tangible or something like software, support calls, support threads, tickets, all that generates data. If someone treated support as a distraction, they'd miss a lot. I really believe that. What has support taught you about your users that analytics never could?
It teaches us, how tech savvy they are and, where like the true actual market stands and views AEO and GEO and what Outright actually does. And that in turn, would influence it, like the language on our website, for example, to be more in tune with how people are actually looking at this. Because again, it is a brand new space and it's changing all the time.
How often then does support feedback outweigh feature requests from louder users? Because I think it's a balancing act, right? You have one set of users like, I want this new thing, this new widget tool, whatever. And then you have tickets coming in that says, I need to focus effort there. How do you balance that?
Well, I like to implement whatever I can as long as it stays within like the core of the platform. Like if it's a feature that's a great idea that I haven't thought of, then I'll put it in that day. Like for instance, we had one user who wanted the ability to just hop in the platform, schedule content, and be out of the platform and not have to touch it, not have to go in it every day. So that was how the calendar feature was created, and he loved that. But I'd say the ratio is probably 60% feature requests to like 40% like on the support side.
Well, still good.
Yeah.
Winding this down, you go through this, you build this, and you're seeing it live right in front of you. It changed who you are and your skill set and where you came from and where you are now. But you're still very early in your career. On the other hand, you're building a very real product with real users. What did this experience teach you faster than any college course or entry-level corporate job could, Aidan?
Well, I'd say it taught me how to get people interested in something, how to create something that, people would be willing to pull out their credit card and pay for. And that to me is just the coolest feeling that, we made something that people want enough to pay monthly for. And it's not even just about the money, but just that validation is kind of, everything.
What assumptions did you have about building software that turned out to be all wrong?
I honestly assumed it would be as hard as it is because I kind of, have been looking at the space and I've known about it for a while, but, I'm learning things every day. There's all sorts of unimaginable things that I would have never thought about that you run into and have to fix and look out for. But, there's all sorts of things, honestly, but, yeah, nothing I can really pinpoint.
What skill do you value now more than pure technical ability?
I'd say my I'm really happy that I spent so much time doing outbound at LeadSpot before Outright, because that has really helped with our email campaigns, our LinkedIn campaigns, and I'm really glad that I, understand how to sort of bring something to market with cold outbound. And I think that was a huge skill set for me.
Okay, we're going to go into our lightning round. There's 4.5 questions, so I have a bonus one for you. So these are very quick.
All right.
The one support issue you did not expect to see.
One support issue I did not expect to see. There was one time. There was one time when someone messaged saying that they couldn't figure out how to generate a photo of something. They thought it was like a photo generator or something. Like they had no idea what was actually going on in the platform.
Okay.
Yep.
Next, one thing new users overthink.
I'd say the content creation itself, honestly. I think the way Outright structures the content now, you add your brand kit and just let it take care of everything else, and you will start being seen by AI search.
One thing advanced users underuse. Good.
I'd say probably like the webhook function, because then you can take the content and basically plug it into any of your automation platforms if you want to be publishing in different places or bringing it into places like Aidan or Make. It's pretty powerful.
One lesson you'd give someone building their first software as a service platform.
I'd say make sure there's a need for what you're building. Make sure that there's like a market for it, and be confident that you're not just releasing something that nobody wants.
Okay, bonus question from me.
All right.
There's a school of thought that the customer is not always right. I grew up in the Sam Walton area where the customer was always right.
Yep.
But there's a school of thought saying the customer is not always right. How do you treat customers? Are they right, wrong, or just maybe uninformed?
I'd say probably uninformed, I guess, or sometimes also wrong. Some people just don't take the time to, fully look through the platform before making an assumption. Some people just make an assumption, doing a service level scan of the platform and then say one thing, and then it'll come back that it's, it does all the things that they thought it didn't do. And I don't know. It is kind of tough to juggle that sometimes, but you always got to treat them with respect. So.
Well, as this episode winds down, you're seeing what happens when you're close to the product and close to the customer at the same time. Support quest can be noisy, but also extremely valuable. Every question shows where the product breaks down or when a process we assumed would simply be misunderstood is tripping folks up. If you're building a SaaS platform and wondering why users keep asking simple questions, this episode explains why that's normal and why paying attention to them matters. Thanks for listening to the $3 podcast. If this episode helped, share it with someone building a SaaS platform or new product while answering every support email themselves. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Aidan.
Thank you.